Folks, welcome on into the Crossing Swords podcast live at Sports City Pizza Pub for a huge Sabres game day after an Olympic break where we haven't seen the Sabres on the ice in 20 days, even though it's felt like a lifetime. It's great to be back here at Sports City. Before we get to our panel, I do want a little shout out to Sports City. They just got recognized on the Saberhood Bar Network. So for the final 25 games in the Sabres season, they'll have games on here at all the TVs. I mean, Bunty, there's a million TVs around us now. The Sabres will be on with the volume. So big things here for them. And they've got a ton of things happening. So be sure to subscribe to their newsletter as well via sportscitypizzapub.com. And right now, it is a great time, Bunty. It's been, again, a lifetime since I feel like the Buffalo Sabres have been here. How are you feeling right now after this lifetime of no hockey on our screens?
I'm thrilled right now. I've been going through Sabres withdrawal. I forgot what it was like to watch the Sabres. I've lost some of the meaning in my life over the last 2.5 weeks. I miss the Sabres. I need them back. And we have a playoff push to talk about tonight, Gatesy. 25 games left. There's going to be a lot going on. And can they get the job done? That's what we're all excited to see over the next month and a half.
And speaking of getting the job done, we have Rachel on the saddle, making sure everything's going well behind the scenes here. And, of course, Dreamboat Don on the ones and twos. Donnie, how are you doing after this Olympic break and having the Sabres back on our screens tonight?
I'm doing great. I mean, it's been it was a great distraction with the Olympics, not just hockey, but all the events. I think everyone I talk to, anytime the Olympics rear its head around, everyone's like, I'm back into all these sports. It's so captivating, so addicting. So that was great to have, but I'm happy to be back down to business as a Sabres fan. Men's team getting it done. Women's team obviously getting it done. A juggernaut. But, yeah, love that we get to talk Sabres hockey. I've missed it, man.
Yeah, it's been a while, but it's, hasn't been too long since we've seen some Sabres faces on the ice. We obviously had Tage Thompson winning gold for the USA. Rasmus Dahlin being eliminated by Tage in the quarterfinals. Bunty, I just want to hear your thoughts, through the Olympics. We've got to see, the Sabres, two top dogs in action, best on best hockey. What were your kind of takeaways from that? Because we saw Tage Thompson on a loaded U.S. team, really on the bottom six of their forwards, not a ton of ice time a night, but he was kind of the mainstay of their power play. And then again, Rasmus Dahlin felt like controlling the blue line the whole time for Sweden. So what was your takeaway after this Olympic break for those two guys?
Yeah, starting off with Rasmus Dahlin, he showed that he is one of the best players in the world. Now, a little surprised Sweden didn't utilize him in overtime. Dahlin said he was good to go and that he wanted to play. So he got hurt at the end of the third period of the USA-Sweden game. So outside of that, I thought he looked like an amazing defenseman throughout the tournament. So that was nice to see. And then when you're talking about Tage Thompson, you kind of hit on it. USA's roster was loaded. So he didn't get a ton of 5-on-5 opportunities, especially in tight moments in the game. But we've talked about how the Sabres power play has struggled the entire year. And then Team USA utilizes Tage Thompson as one of their snipers with guys like Austin Matthews and Jack Eichel and other top-end guys. So if Team USA can use Tage Thompson that way and score a bunch on the power play, what I'm taken away from that is the Sabres better find a way to utilize him in a better way to score on the power play more. But it was nice to see Tage Thompson come home with the gold. Obviously, would have liked to see him on the ice a little bit more, but on that type of roster, understandable why he saw the ice time he saw.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what we can really take away is Tage Thompson was able to, carve out a role on himself on a team that was so loaded where he wasn't getting a ton of minutes 5-on-5, but he got a chance on that first power play unit and took advantage of it, scoring the first game for the USA and scoring in ways we're not really, really seeing him in the Sabres power play where we saw Tage a lot, be the net front guy, be the bumper guy, be, on the goal line making a play. And that was awesome to see from Tage where it wasn't just, we're going to stick him on the half wall, hoping to get a one-timer through or else the power play is not scoring. Hopefully Seth Appert and the Sabres team can take that away and get this power play going in this final 25 games.
Isn't that something that we've been talking about a while, though, with the Sabres power play, how they're a little bit stagnant? They don't move around, and they're pretty predictable. Now, the Sabres power play, I feel like their numbers are actually a little bit better than what it actually feels like when you're watching them. But definitely, you hope that they can mix it up a little bit more. When you have a sniper like Tage and you have a guy up front like Josh Stone, and you have different players throughout Zucker and the likes, they should be better than what they are. The Sabres are always normally a consistently decent 5-on-5 team. There's no reason why their power play should be as bad as it is, especially for how long it's been as poor as it has been. So,
yeah, I had gone off that. I liked how they used Tage. It was a bit different from the Sabres. Lots of times you see him up high at the top of the circles. They used him down low as that guy that kind of shifts from the corner to the front of the net and realize, hey, if you can get him in tight, get the goalie going down to cover the bottom half of the net, you can get him to, he has a great ability to lift up the puck in short, tight areas. So yeah, that was really, I really like the way they used him. So we'll have to see if the Sabres and Lindy reconsider the way they're using Tage on the power play.
Yeah, hopefully we can see that, just Sabres evolve their power play from that point, and just the ability of Tage he was almost the focal point of the power play, because he would get the puck down low in the corner, and it felt like every team's PK would just kind of take a different guy from Team USA, and that allowed Tage Thompson to, get the goal we saw where he had to drive the net, get different types of goals where he was kind of the decision maker. I'm interested to see if the Sabres will now evolve that kind of trust Tage to not just be a one-time option, but actually be the facilitator for this power play unit. So it's an interesting thing to see what the Sabres will do there. Shout out Dave Love on text. We all do. How could you not? And the Sabres team. It's been a great time right now just to feel the energy, to feel that, this Buffalo Sabres team is back. So it's time for Celino Palming in HVAC and Electrics. Who's hot and who's not right now? A lot's going on. Donnie, I might start off with you for who's not, where we have a lot of different options. We haven't seen the Sabres in 20 games, but we might be able to see some things to look forward to in this final stretch. So who's hot for you right now?
Yeah, it's tough because, again, they haven't played. We have a limited sample size. But I'm going to go with maybe an obvious pick. It's not the gold medal winner, but the other guy we had out there, Rasmus Dahlin. I mean, a goal and 4 assists, 5 points in 3 games. That's about as hot as it gets. I mean, Tage, yeah, he got 3 goals. He was netting them. But Dahlin absolutely getting it done, moving the puck well for the team, and yeah, just really incredible stuff on his end. So yeah, but for who's not, I mean, it brings me no pleasure in picking him, but Benson missing this whole road trip that we are starting tonight, and then the 2 games in Florida, Friday, Saturday. I mean, listen, we've talked up how much this young player has really contributed to this team. So to have him, it's really hurting, but that's kind of the only who's not I got player-wise right now. We're going to have to see after this game, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about on this front come Friday.
Bunty, where are you at right now?
So obviously no games over the last 2.5 weeks, so I can't go based on recent production, but I'm going to make projections of who's going to be hot and who's not.
Yes.
So for who's going to be hot, you could probably guess who I'm going to go with, knowing who I like to hype up. Can you pick who you think I might go with?
Bunty, I know you sing his praises all the time. How can it not be Jack Quinn, your favorite player?
That's in the running, but I'm going with Josh Norris.
Of course.
Because he is back in the lineup, and I say this all the time to you. He is the 3rd most talented player on the Sabres roster, behind Rasmus Dahlin and Tage Thompson. I love Josh Norris. When he came back the first time, it correlated with the Sabres surge, and now I think that he's back. It's going to lead to more continued success going forward. So Josh Norris is going to be my who's hot, and then who's not. I don't want to be the guy that continues to pile on him, because I think I included him as my who's cold the last time we were here at Sports City Pizza Pub, but Greenway. I mean, he just can't find the ice. And I would love him in the 4th line role on this team right now in this playoff push. But you got to be available. Yes. And with Donnie already taking Benson, I think Greenway is the next guy you have to go with. And I will say this, they need Benson. When I see Krebs on the first line with Thompson and Tuck, and I know that Thompson likes playing with Krebs, and Krebs does have some skill to his game. He has maybe more skill than your typical 4th line center. I don't want to see Peyton Krebs on my top line. I want Benson playing. So I'll go with Greenway, but that's just because I really don't have many other options at the current moment.
Yeah, and it's weird too because the last time we saw Peyton Krebs in that top line for the Sabres, it was crash and burn where we saw the turnovers, we saw the overtime plays.
I could say Jacob Bryson because his performance against Pittsburgh in the final game, for people that remember, was not one to remember, leading to 2 Penguins goals.
Yeah, that was the thing where just left that bad taste where the Sabres dropped 3 of their last 4 games coming into this break, and we just kind of sit on that information of, oh gosh, that's a bad way to end things for 20 days. Now, what can I tell myself to get me through this 25 games, to get me through this break, to get me thinking the season's not already over? It's like, guys, you talked about having Josh Norris back in the lineup, getting, UPL back in who's starting tonight. Josh Dunn's in the lineup after not seeing him for a while. Hopefully you can have Benson back after this 3-game road trip. There's a lot of things that can happen for the Sabres where you can look forward to better things happening. Obviously, the opposite can happen from that point, but there's parts where the roster they have right now, it's only going to get better when you add Benson back and you get Krebs off that line. You bring in some of those other guys. You get Timmins back. There's a lot of things that can happen there for the Sabres. So that's a thing we can take away from that point. My who's hot right now, I went a little different direction with this where I'm going with the Goo Goo Dolls because mainly they're stock because I think from here on out, the number one song, at least played by me, I think a lot of people right now, I keep hearing it over and over and over again, is Better Days. It's hard not to, hear that song and just want to hear it after everything that, this franchise has been through since, that 2007 year. I need to play it at least once a day just to feel something again. So that's my hot right now because from here until the end of the year, that song is going to be played probably a little bit too much, but that's not even in the conversation. My who's not right now, well, it's going to be goalie health because we've seen all throughout the season, the Sabres, 3 goalie talk. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? They finally get 3 goalies and someone goes down. Well, the Buffalo Sabres have 3 goalies back in rotation again. So that does not bode well in the law of averages of all 3 of them staying healthy. So I'm interested to see as, this week goes on, as we even see how these goalies perform on this 3-game road trip, what Lindy Ruff, what Jarmo Kekalainen are going to do in net for the Sabres because I think it tells a lot that after this break, after everything, they're going right to Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen.
Isn't that it is kind of interesting.
It is. It's very interesting, and I think I like the move because he's been out for a while. Put him in against New Jersey. I like that instead of throwing him in against Tampa Bay, against Florida, where, this Jersey game is very important, but putting him in right away against those Florida teams might be a little scarier.
Yeah, and you know who loves the move?
Who?
Maniac.
He
yeah,
does.
I mean, let's be real. He's UPL's number 1 defender. And you know what? To his credit, UPL has stepped up this season and has had a solid year so far. So hopefully that continues. But this is the game out of these 3 games on the road to come back from the break that the Sabres absolutely have to win.
Yes.
They absolutely have to win today because if you don't, it could be scary the next 2 games playing Florida and Tampa. And if somehow you go on a 3-game losing streak post-Olympic break, all of that positive momentum that you built up will be gone in a hurry, and you will have people back on anxiety watch at KeyBank Center when they're taking on Jack Eichel and the Vegas Golden Knights. So I think it's, you know what, if you're talking the next 3 games, I don't know if there's an exact point total you have to get to, but I think you're hoping for at least 3. You want to go at least 1-1-1 the next 3 games. And if you can steal a game in Florida or Tampa and you can somehow go 2-1, you're going to be feeling really good about things heading back, especially now that Pittsburgh is going to be without Sidney Crosby for the next 4 weeks. And will Boston be able to stay hot? Will Detroit be able to keep it going? I know we talked about last week on the show what our odds are of them making the playoffs. Well, the Athletic came out with their percentages today, and it was 79%. So build some momentum and then take it to the finish line.
And the fact that, their playoff percentage only dropped by a few percentage points after dropping 3 of their last 4 going into the break, I think speaks volume of, to the issues like you brought up to other teams are facing. And just, the Sabres roster they have right now is very different than what the last time we saw them on the ice was. So tonight, I think is going to be a big tell on that. We'll see, this lineup looks so different. Like you said, having Josh Norris back in the lineup and having him in that third line too, where the Sabres lineup kind of looks a little scary with Peyton Krebs on there, but you look throughout the rest, they might be able to just out-depth New Jersey tonight and get them over the finish line. But before we kind of continue in this game, that's been Salino Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. Who's hot and who's not? Bunty, we have some new faces in the lineup tonight. Kind of talked about it earlier. Big one, obviously Josh Norris. You have UPL in that. Josh Dunn is, making his return back to the fourth line. The Sabres called up Anton Wahlberg out of the blue yesterday. There's a lot of faces here for the Sabres. What for you does adding, Josh Norris, adding UPL, adding even a guy like Josh Dunn to this lineup mean for you going into this last 25 games?
I mean, the biggest addition to the lineup is clearly Josh Norris. That's not even open for debate, in my opinion. And I don't know what the final pairings will be, but earlier in practice, he was on the third pair with Doan, and I believe it was Quinn, or was it Osland? It might have been Osland for the third pair.
Yeah.
So I like that. I like that as a third line. If you have Norris with Doan and Osland, that's a very, very talented, skilled third line right there that has the ability to put up points. And I think until Benson gets back, you're going to need Norris to maybe provide you that additional depth. And what I do like with Norris back is prior to this Olympic break, when Benson did go out, what was it, the Tampa game, he got hurt, and then he missed the Pittsburgh game. Things were starting to thin out with this forward group.
Especially the kids.
When Krebs is playing on the first line and you're playing with Hellenis and Oslin's being asked to contribute, and you don't have Norris, your fourth line is relying on Kozak, and you don't have all the depth that you had. And then obviously defensively, you're playing guys like Metza and Bryson, and I know Kesselring is back.
Yeah.
It started looking a little bit like a weaker team overall. Now that you have Norris back, it feels like you have three lines that have the potential to score. And quietly, I'm excited to have Josh Dunn back in the lineup. A lot of people might forget about it, but Josh Dunn played a big role in this team's hot streak in December and early January. How many times were we talking about this fourth line is relentless? They check. They keep on opponents. They make games difficult. I think Josh Dunn played a big role in that, and I'm excited to have him back in the lineup if he can keep bringing that effort and basically hustle on a nightly basis.
Yeah, and Dunn, I feel like all throughout this Sabres season, you've talked about this team having gut. A guy like Josh Dunn, having that gut on your fourth line, and just even adding the additions of UPL, Josh Norris, like what does that mean for you to continue the Sabres team that as much as they get punched in the mouth throughout games, like they're not rolling over and dying throughout a 60-minute game?
Yeah, I mean, it all starts in that and moves forward as far as I'm concerned in the NHL. Listen, we've seen everyone's talked about, I was talking about this with Zach. I was telling him, there's a lot of books. A lot of people are very bullish on the Sabres right now. But he said, yeah, we've seen that before. Saw that in 2019. Saw like where we had that epic collapse. But the difference is so many of those games, we were winning 7-5. We're winning 6-5. We have the goaltending, we have the defense, and the physical play contributes to that. If you can make guys not want to go and chase that puck to the corner, or make them know when they're going, the defense is turning around and they're chasing after that puck, they have them in the back of their mind knowing I'm about to get hit. It slows you down a little bit. It really does get in your head, and it takes a really good player to play through that amount of pressure. So it's like a two-way game where if we're physical on both ends of the ice, like you said, and with Dunn, and I think he we haven't seen him because he was hurt. I think that last game, full game he played, he got in a fight, right?
He loves scrapping.
Yeah, and that's kind of like how and it was taken on a guy way bigger than him, if I remember. I forget the team it was against. But, yeah, I love that attitude. I love, the fourth line is so important. I love having a good fourth line that you can put out there. You don't always want them. You don't want them matched up against their first line, but you can let them get away with a matchup against their second and third and say, you know what, let's get physical. Let's get under their skin a little bit.
Yeah, and I know like fourth lines too for Sabres fans have kind of always had this mystique about them of kind of fan favorites at the time. But this fourth line just feels so different because we're seeing some scoring opportunity come from that. They're controlling play. They're not just, a shutdown line like the log line we saw all those years ago. We have Beck Malenstein, who has his feet are moving 24/7 out there. He's great on the forecheck. He's creating turnovers. I believe it was last game or the prior game where, the Sabres scored off of that. They created a turnover in the O zone. They got the puck up to the point for a goal. Like stuff like that helps. We've seen the highlight reel goals out of nowhere from him on the rush. That's been a great thing. So having your fourth line doing that is great. So having Dunn is going to be a big addition there. We're not going to have to worry too much of, having, Krebs, Kozak, and Malenstein out there where you have a bigger body who can throw some hits, can drop the gloves. You don't have to rely on Michael Kesselring for that either. I think will be a really big thing.
And I do want to chip in one thing. I mean, we don't know the health and the injury prognoses of every player on the team, but there's still more flexibility on this fourth line.
Yeah.
We have not seen Danforth since the beginning of the season. Is he returning at some point? Does he have an ability to contribute on this fourth line at some point? Obviously, Greenway is on IR right now. Then we're talking about other guys. Obviously, Krebs is on the first line right now. But when you have – I know nothing is ever going to happen where everybody's healthy at the same time. But is there a scenario where Kulik at some point returns to the lineup, Krebs goes down to the fourth line, you have Benson back, and you could be playing with Danforth, Krebs, Malenstein, or you could switch it up for a different opponent and put Kozak in and have Danforth in there and have Greenway in there. Like, there's still a lot of flexibility on this bottom line when healthy. Now, we haven't been healthy the entire year. I mean, you look at the beginning of the season, there was already 5-6 guys out, but that is something that does excite me if they can ever get to the point where they get more guys back. And the one thing I did want to add to what Donnie said, obviously Maniac mentioned how in previous years Vegas might have been high and they didn't follow through. The one thing I do want to bring up is there hasn't been many years where the analytics and the advanced metrics and the projectors have been this high on this team.
Yeah.
Going into this season, a lot of them had the Sabres at 90-plus points when most casual hockey fans thought this was an 80-point team. And I remember looking at that and saying before the season, the over-under at one point was 82 to 83 points. And I said, hammer the over. This team is a lock to get over 83, 84 points. And people thought I was crazy because that was a 5-point swing. But all of the metrics said this team is a high 80-point team. Now, you're sitting at 70 points with 25 games left. Your point percentage on the year has been over 60%. Even if you take a regression, let's be reasonable from a math standpoint. Let's say you go from 60% to 50%. That gets you 12.5 points in the final 25 games. That still gets not 12.5 wins,
yes.
pardon me, 25 points. That gets you to 95 points. Mm-hmm. You should make the playoffs doing that. So even if there is a drop down, this team, based on all the metrics, based on all the algorithms, everything that you can project, they should be a playoff team besides having a collapse down the stretch.
Yeah, we definitely have to avoid that. And you look at just 500 hockey throughout, that's kind of what feels to me is like bottom of the barrel. Like, I don't want to say worst case scenario because obviously crazy things have happened and we've seen crazy things happen. But for the Sabres team, how they've been, unless, a bunch of guys go out, then worse things could happen. But the Sabres team going 500 would almost feel like a loss at that point where we've seen how they played. They're having Josh Norris back. Hopefully they can keep him through these final 25 games. UPL's back in the lineup. They're going to have Zach Benson back soon. Kesselring's back in healthy. Danforth, Timmins. There's a lot of names coming back. That's going to breed competition. The Sabres team is going to hopefully just keep building on that. We've seen them throughout the course of the year kind of ride the waves. So hopefully this game one, they can get off on the right foot. And I know fans are concerned. They're nervous. We've all seen, really bad things happen in this organization in history. But we're going to try to find the opposite of that. So let's get to William Attar's Power of 4. Folks at home, thank you again for watching. I want you to comment as we do R3, your Power of 4 for a reason that Buffalo Sabres fans should have hope that the drought can end this year, and this is not going to be the same old Sabres. Bunty, I'll start with you. What's that one thing for you that you can kind of rest your head on the end of the night that this isn't the same old Sabres team that we've seen before?
I'll say this. The offense I know is good. They have more than enough offensive talent to score, to finish, to keep up with opponents. I like this defensive group more than any Sabres defensive group I've seen in, I don't know, the last 5-10 years. You're talking about you have an all-world captain leading this defense in Rasmus Dahlin. But Bowen Byram has been very solid. Matthias Samuelsson has been one of the best defensemen in the NHL this year. And let's be real, for as much hate as he gets, Owen Power has stepped up over the last month plus of the season and has played decent hockey. Kesselring is the big unknown at this point.
Yes.
He hasn't played enough, and when he has played, he hasn't been great. But hopefully this Olympic break gave him some time to rest, and maybe we'll see a refreshed version of him going forward. If Kesselring can step up and then you get Timmins back or you make a trade for another third pair defenseman, this could be a really solid group. The goaltending, it's middle of the pack. It's very average, but you know what? You take it because
That's all
over
we wanted.
previous years, it's been horrible. So I take average goaltending at this point. But, yeah, what I would say gives me the most confidence is the consistent scoring combined with what I think is the best defensive group talent-wise that this Sabres team has probably had going back, I don't know, 20 years. I mean, when was the last time they had this much talent on defense? You probably got to go back 20 years to even talk about a group. And you're talking about guys like Tallender and Lundman who were shutdown defenders, Teppo Numminen, and some other guys. This group, honestly, skill-wise, is
Most skilled ever.
is way above that.
Yes.
So this defense group has to carry this team.
Donnie, what are you hanging your hat on right now that at least you're telling yourself this isn't the same old Sabres right now?
Honestly, for me, it's been the one outlier this year. It's coaching, top to bottom, really. I mean, we've seen talented teams. That was the joke with the Sabres. Hey, Ryan O'Reilly, Sam Reinhart, Jack Eichel, these are awesome players we all have. Leave, and they win a Stanley Cup. What is wrong? For years, we were banging our head against the wall. We had the collapse where we were clearly in a wild card spot. Not only that, chasing the top of our division back in 2018-19, and that giant collapse. So when I look at that, I say, I know a lot of those times are like, did players want enough? But clearly they wanted it. They went and had success elsewhere. We have coaching now that is doing all the right things. We've seen multiple times Sabres go down 2-0. Lindy rallies the troops. We come back, and we're evening up the game. The Florida game before break comes to mind against the Panthers. And out of that media timeout, we were top to bottom the better team for the rest of the game without a hiccup. It's happened to other games where I've seen them, hey, it's the third period. We're up 3-0. We give up 2 quick ones. He gets the boys to settle down. And besides that, I like all the little things he's done right, too. I like the goalie management that's been happening where he's, leaning on UPL, but also knows he can rely on Ryan. I like those shuffling of lines that Bunt has mentioned where, like, Krebs, like, if you need him, you'll bump him up to the first, you'll bump him up to the third, fourth. He's kind of an elusive guy. But then you look at Krebs, he's on the ice weighing games when we're up a goal. He's, we call him the empty net assassin. There's a reason they put him out there in these empty. And Malenstein too. Again, a fourth liner. So how many fourth liners? I love the way they kind of shake up the lines in the last 5 minutes of a 1 or 2 goal game. Malenstein, how many times have we seen him have like some of the most gutsy blocks with like 3 minutes left? So again, it's like knowing that it's not we're just gonna. I'm just going to follow my little sheet right here, and we're just going to go down the lines. I'm going to see who's playing well tonight. We saw him bench that awful defensive pairing on the last game before against the Penguins on the last game before break. So I like how malleable, how active of a coach he is, how involved he is, and I think that'll be the difference.
You know what you just said? You talked about coaching, but you also talked about roster construction. This isn't just about skill. In the past, the Sabres had one way to win a game. You got to get odd man rushes and you need to finish at a high rate.
Yes.
This team has guys that can do different things. A Malenstein, you look at him most of the time on any other team, and you'd be like, okay, like he doesn't really stand out too much. There's nothing special about what he does, but he works his ass off every single time he's on the ice. And he'll get in front of a shot in the critical moment. He'll make a big hit in a big moment where you get some momentum out of it. These are the things that the Sabres in the late 90s and the mid-2000s had that they really have lacked throughout the drought. He's
letting young guys earn their ice.
Letting them do it. And you know what's funny? He's always had a reputation of being hard on young players. But you know what? I always thought it was the opposite. He gives young players the opportunity if they show up and are willing to earn it. And you know what this kind of shows me with this Sabres team is they're more well-rounded, but it also shows when you get a little bit of that taste of winning, you're willing to do whatever it takes to keep it going. And I've seen more grit, and I know grit is a word that gets made fun of by the analytics guys, but the Sabres have lacked that mentality. They haven't had that killer instinct to finish a game, do whatever it takes. And I see a team that is willing to do whatever it takes to win games. And whether that's coaching, whether that's players buying in or doing what they're supposed to, for the first time in over a decade, they seem to care about finishing these games.
And that really goes into my power four as well. So if you're watching home, comment yours so we can round this out. Is you kind of talked about it, guys doing what they have to do. And before I talk about that, the young guys specifically, you look at the young guys called up this season, they've really all overachieved on what we could have expected. Number one, like Isak Rosén, a guy we at best were just hoping to be some sort of scorer, maybe a third line. He showed his defensive, prowess at the NHL level, which I didn't think was possible. After what we saw in the Prospect Challenge, where he put up no points, to see where he's at now. You see Noah Ostlund be a mainstay on this roster. Constant Hellenis showed up, played well in the start, kind of fell off toward the end, but got a great opportunity to show, he's going to be on the Sabres team next season. If a guy goes down, he's going to be that first call-up. I mean, they got Anton Wahlberg up now. Who knows if he'll see action with the Sabres? So that's a big thing. But the thing that's super exciting for me, what I'm hanging my hat on, is you kind of alluded to it a little bit, Bunty, of just guys on the Sabres team are playing every aspect of the game right now. We saw in years prior, Tage Thompson only be a goal scorer. We saw guys like Jack Quinn only score on the rush. We're seeing guys all throughout the lineup playing every single role really possible and really excelling it, right? We're seeing Jack Quinn, a guy that, we've talked highly on, especially recently, on pace for over 50 points right now, who isn't a liability when he's on the ice defensively. He has his moments where he's a little light on his stick and be a light on his skates, but the progression we've seen there where he's taking that onus in his D zone a little bit more. Owen Power, especially in the past couple months, has taken a ton of strides in this game. And obviously both those players have big microscopes by the fan base on them, and they're not perfect players by any means. But from where they were just a year ago, the ownership of both ends of the ice has been a big improvement for the Sabres team. Obviously you have those two guys. Just the first line in general playing at both ends. Your fourth line is scoring goals. Your D-core as a whole, like Matthias Samuel, like I could name every player right now, and it feels like everyone is, really playing to their level and really exceeding. We're not having too many names that are like, they're not having the best of the season. They're really having a step back, and we might have to cut ties. It's really guys are hitting their level or they're really exceeding it right now.
100%, and I think that's putting players in the proper positions to succeed. And you know what? I don't know what is dramatically different from this team this year versus where they were last year. It's a lot of the same faces, obviously a few new guys to the team, but I think what it really comes down to, and I hate oversimplifying it, but it comes down to buying in.
Yeah.
They're healthy. They're buying into what they're being told, and they're getting the job done. And we talked about this during the offseason. When you're leading by 2 with 12 minutes left in the game, sometimes the right play is just flipping the puck into the zone and just getting it out. How many times did this team in previous years just play stupid hockey? Where taking dumb chances and dumb moments, just sometimes bad puck luck, poor special teams. I know the power play's not great, but the penalty kill has been much improved. It just seems like a team that has learned
They're adapting their play
how
style.
to do things the right way. And a lot of that is having players buying into their roles.
Yes.
And we've talked about this a lot in recent years, but we've talked about Dylan Cousins, we talked about Jack Quinn, and JJ Paterka. On the surface, 3 talented players, all very good, all have the potential to have bright NHL futures. You can't have 3 of those guys on the second line at the same time. They were young, they were immature, they took dumb chances, and they killed the team over a period of time. And yes, you look at their numbers at the end of the year and you'd be like, oh, Cousins can be a 60-point player. Paterka can score 30 goals. And Quinn has the ability to be productive. But what have we always said? They needed veterans.
Yeah.
Because veterans know how to do the right things in the right moments. And the additions of guys like McLeod over the years, Zucker over the years, and now having a fourth line that's better. And then Josh Doan, let's be real. Like, he came out of nowhere and has made a huge impact on the team.
Yes.
But he shows on both sides of the ice why he's so valuable. He's willing. He has the skill to score 20-plus goals, 25-plus goals. But he also works hard on the defensive side of the game. And he creates takeaways, and he sets guys up.
Yes.
This team has additional elements and avenues to winning. And that's the thing that's most exciting about it is I think they're only at the beginning of what they can be. They're just scratching the surface. This team has the ability to be so much better down the line, but it takes time. And it's exciting to watch it all play out.
Yeah, and the biggest thing to me that you brought up is just their ability to change their play style. We've seen the Sabres team win in so many different facets throughout the season, throughout the past, month and a half of Sabres hockey where, sometimes it's a game where they're not getting anything on the rush. They just chip it in deep, try to get traffic, create a rebound, maybe get a shot through. They're winning games like that. Sometimes we'll see them on the rush. They realize they have speed. They're going to beat some defensemen wide. They're going to score quicker style hockey. That's great. We're seeing them, close in games, having to just survive to the very end. We're seeing them, maybe put their foot on the gas at times and end games that way. That's what's, reassuring to me is we've seen Sabres teams in previous years only have, one play in the playbook, and if that doesn't work, they're most likely going to lose that game. Right now, it's interesting because we've seen the Sabres, down 1-0 early in games and be, right back in it by the end of the period, maybe even winning by the end of the period. They're able to change how they play. And the guys are bought into what Lindy's saying. It just feels like it's all coming together. We'll see how they look after this Olympic break, though. But that has been William Attar's Power of 4. Now, gentlemen, I asked this on last week's show. Yes or no answer. I want to do this each week as we move on through the season, as this final 25 games goes. As, we get closer and closer and closer to April, the drought. Bunty, as of today, February 25th, I know we haven't had a game since last time, but do you still feel like the drought will end for the Buffalo Sabres?
I do feel like it will end. In 57 games is not a small sample size. The Sabres are in a playoff spot after 57 games. That is over 2/3 of the season at this point in time. And if I was to say no, that would be me basically saying I don't buy into what I've seen for the first 5 months of the season. And let's be real. There's not much reason for me to change my opinion outside of Benson being out. Now, I know their record without Benson is not good, but you know who hasn't played a lot this year? Josh Norris, and now Josh Norris is back. So I know they're not the same game, but you're getting another highly skilled player to fill in the lineup. And what I'll say is this. The Penguins don't have Crosby for the next 4+ weeks. Who knows how long he's out for? That is going to impact the Penguins in the standings.
Oh, yes.
Will the Islanders be able to keep it going? They win games, but they're not the most talented team. I know Schaefer is a
they had the first pick last year.
Yes. You look at Columbus. They've been red hot of late to get back into the race, but they're not going to be able to sustain that. I don't think the Boston Bruins are going to be able to sustain what they're doing. The Detroit Red Wings have kind of fallen back in the last couple weeks before the Olympic break. I don't think the Sabres have to be incredible to make the playoffs. I think you go 500 down the stretch, you get in. And you know what? If you somehow get to 100 points, I think you're in the 2-3 of the Atlantic Division, and you're playing probably Montreal or Detroit in the first round, and you have a chance to win a playoff series. So, yeah, right now, I told you the bunt algorithms, the bunt analytics give it about a 60% chance. I'm a little bit lower than the other ones, but just go out, play your brand of hockey, find a way to get games to overtime when you're not playing well, and you should safely make it. But the biggest question, like I said last week, how do you respond to adversity when that hits?
Yep.
Don't collapse. Don't I don't think they will. They haven't this year. But show when adversity hits that you can respond to it. And Darlene is healthy. Thompson is healthy. You have Norris in the lineup. There's no excuses for this team to blow their spot in the playoffs.
Not at all, Don. As of February 25th, 2026, do you believe the drought will end and the Buffalo Sabres will make the playoffs?
I do, but I also want to point out, this team, the one thing that I'm most worried about, if this was not an Olympic year, I would feel a lot better.
Yep.
Because if we remember how they started off this season, it was not great. It really took them some time to cook. And if you even look to the first time we played New Jersey, Black Friday in November, the Sabres record at that time was below 500. They were 17-4 and 4, or 17-14 and 4. Sorry. But right after that, turn it around. Next time they play the Devils, we beat them in the midst of that franchise tying win streak on December 21st. So it's what version of the Sabres are we going to see out of the Olympic break? Are we going to see the slow start where it took some time to get the taste for winning, like Bunt said, and get addicted to it in a good way, where you're living and dying with every shift? Or are you going to come out and show up like you did against the Avs on your on a Monday night where the Bills play and lay an absolute egg? So it'll be good to see, but I'm going with yes. I have all the faith that not only will this team break the drought, I think we win a series.
I love that so much, and I agree with you. I think the drought will end, and for me, just what it feels like. Bunty, I love what you talk about with the other teams, in this race of kind of the obstacles they have to overcome, where we saw like the last month and a half of the season, it felt like every team was getting to overtime, getting to points. There are a ton of 3-point games. I don't know how sustainable that is for the rest of this 25-game stretch of the season, but it's something that, I think bodes in the Sabres' favor, where they haven't had a ton of those overtime games. We saw Lindy Ruff in the offseason really emphasize being in those games, getting to overtime, getting points, staying in games close. We've seen that benefit the Sabres where, they haven't had to go into overtime a lot. They've been able to close games out. I want to see in the stretch, if they're down, be able to be on the other side of that coin, where we saw, in Tampa Bay, they gave up that goal late. In Montreal, they gave that third period lead. I want to see that from the Sabres. And I just want to see, each game down the stretch matter. And the thing for me, tonight's game especially, is, you don't know what you're going to expect on the ice, skill-wise, team-wise, after such a long break for the Olympics. But the thing that I'm looking for the most isn't going to be their tape-to-tape passing the first 5 minutes. It's going to be, their intensity, their grit. What Jarmo Kekalainen talked about his introductory press conference of this team having heart and playing hard every shift. That's what gave the Sabres success, after the firing of Kevin Adams. And that's what they need to, hang their hat on to give them success down the stretch of, they may not be able to outskill teams right away with their play style, having new guys back in the lineup, everything on that front, but they need to work hard. If we see a Sabres team tonight that looks a little slow, lackadaisical, and being outworked by Jersey, that's when I'm hitting that panic button, pretty quickly of, okay, they need to reset and find what's going to work for them. But, guys, just this talk of the playoffs, the postseason, gets me some goosebumps. I'm feeling a little chilly right now, but thankfully I have this great crew neck from Totally Buffalo, this Buffalo hockey crew neck as we go down this 25-game stretch. It's only good to rep the colors. We appreciate Totally Buffalo, everything they do for us. We appreciate the Sabres team tonight, finally back in action, playing the New Jersey Devils. Also, we talked about UPL in the crease, Josh Norris, Josh Dunn back in the lineup. Sabres, it feels like a pick'em game right now, what Vegas is looking like. Bunty, what are you looking for tonight from the Sabres team of, one, do you think they're going to come out of the gates flying, or are they going to have to weather a storm a little bit and, find their game later on?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. New Jersey has been a team in recent years the Sabres have kind of struggled against. Now, they did get a win up in Jersey earlier this year. How will they show up? early in this contest. Both teams have had off, obviously, an extended period of time. I hope the Sabres bring their A game. I do expect them to maybe be a little bit sloppy passing the puck. Normally, that's something that you're going to lose a little bit when you have an extended period of break. New Jersey does have some speed. Obviously, Jack Hughes, a superstar with the golden goal to give Team USA the Olympic gold. So I don't expect this to be an easy game at all tonight. I think the final odds, New Jersey was minus 112. The Sabres were minus 108 on the money line. So this is a pick'em game according to Vegas. But if you're the Sabres and you have Florida and Tampa awaiting you the next two games, you got to do whatever it takes. Worst case scenario, you got to get this game to overtime. You lose in regulation.
Yep.
Because we know how this works. You lost to Florida. Not Florida. You lost to Pittsburgh. And then you lost it overtime to Tampa. So you're technically 0-1-1 your last two games. You lose to New Jersey, that becomes an 0-2-1. Then you play Florida and you play Tampa, and then next thing you know, you could be in a stretch where even though you had an Olympic break, you could be 0-4-1 for a period of 5 games. Those other teams that were behind you catch right up to you, and then every point will matter that much more, and 500 hockey won't get the job done anymore. So I think the Sabres are going to come out inspired today. It's just some of the small things, and like Donnie said, this is where the break kind of hurts you a little bit because you're not going to be probably at the top of your game. But the bright spot is New Jersey probably isn't going to be at the top of their game either. So come out, be ready, and hopefully you can find a way to at least get a point out of tonight's performance.
Don, how are you feeling tonight?
I'm feeling good. This is a TCB game. Take care of business. That's what it is. It doesn't have to be pretty. Again, my expectations are to have the seamless puck movement through the neutral zone we were having in late December, early January, and throughout January. I'm not expecting tonight. It'd be nice, but I'm not expecting, there's going to be a little chemistry loss. I feel great that our two guys that we were saying in October, if we can just get Rasmus going, if we can just get Tage going, I think we'll be okay. They got going big time on that stretch. And so these guys are loose. These guys have been playing during the break, not just against anyone, but some of the best competition in the world, clearly. So I like the fact that those two guys are loose. I'm looking for them to take a leadership role, obviously wearing the C and the A. And, the New Jersey Devils right now are kind of just basement dwellers. I think it's going to be a high-intensity emotional game. I think the only reason this is a pick'em is because it's coming out of the break and books don't really know what to make of this. Also, you had basically New Jersey fans flooding, buying like 50% of available tickets in like the 10 minutes after Jack Hughes scored. So it is going to be a loud barn, but get in there, get one early, shut them down, shut them up, and just move on. Again, I think this is a game you should win. You got to win if you're a playoff team, and to kind of get your swagger back heading into Florida a little bit. But it doesn't have to be pretty. If it's a game where our deserve-o-meter is not in our favor, but we win 3-2, and even in overtime, I'm happy. Just get it done. TCB, take care of business.
I think I'd almost be happier if they won a game with such a bad deserve-to-win-o-meter because that meant they were playing hard, they were surviving, and the Sabres team have been doing something we haven't seen in forever. They're just finding ways to win. It hasn't been pretty all the time, but we've seen Sabre team.
I'd rather have a 5-1 win.
Oh, hey,
I don't want.
But for a team to come out of the break and obviously I want to see them play well, but to have the thing that's given them success is that that ability to stay in games and just find the ability to win. That's going to be something I think for me that I would take at the end of the day for the Sabres team, and just the game tonight. It just feels like I'm so nervous about it, but I guess the bonus of being at Sports City is there's 7,000 TVs surrounding us. I have a bit of exposure therapy with the Sabres team, or no matter where I look, they're going to be on. They're going to be, I'm going to have to watch this team every single part and just see how they play it. That's the part for me. It's just there's just so much unknown after this long break. It feels weird to try to break down what we're going to see because it really feels like the Wild West of hockey right now.
Yeah, who knows what's going to happen tonight? It's been a while, and at the end of the day, though, it hasn't been 2 months. It's been just under 3 weeks. So you shouldn't lose all of that. They have been practicing for the last week. Obviously, Tage back with the team today, and Rasmus Dahlin came back a couple days ago. So I don't expect it to be the worst looking
No.
product in the world, but it is kind of crazy. It's you go from 0 to 100 just like that. And New Jersey's struggled this year. Got to get a win, and let's hope that they have it today, because if they get a win, we're back on the Sabres are a wagon. Things are rolling. But if they lose, then some of that anxiety starts to creep up. But 3-game road trip. They've been good on the road in recent times. Just find a way to try to somehow get 3 or 4 points out of this trip, and we'll feel pretty good about it.
Definitely. And Don, you brought up too of just having Tage and Dahlin take that next level. One thing I'm telling myself after this Olympic break is, you have Rasmus Dahlin coming out of it where he felt slighted, not getting ice time in the 3-on-3 in that overtime, to eliminate Sweden. He's going to have a chip on his shoulder to prove that he's that guy for Buffalo, that he deserved to be out there, that he's going to be, the one to carry this team into the postseason. And on the flip side, you got Tage Thompson, who, got his goals, got his gold medal, was a big part of Team USA, getting minutes, not a lot of them, but making the most of when he was out there. I think both these guys are going to come in, in that right mindset of Dahlin trying to prove, Sweden wrong and all that, and Tage riding that great wave of, the success he had over in Italy. So that's a big thing. Don, any final thoughts on the Sabres team, this game tonight, as we're only, a few minutes away from puck drop in New Jersey?
Yeah, I mean, let's just be thankful hockey's back. Let's be thankful that we're at this position as Sabres fans. That feels great. And my major focus besides, getting, 4 or 5. 5 would be a blessing out of this road trip. 4 is what I want. But, hey, next home game, March 3rd. We've heard the Beer Sabres will be restocked in March. Are they going to be back? That's the question I'm asking and I'm hoping for, because I missed the Beer Sabre train big time. I was gigging in the weekends. I go to Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night games. I haven't been able to go to. I've only been to maybe 2 weekend games, so I want to get my hands on one of those Beer Sabres. So yeah, can't wait for that. And let's go Sabres, y'all.
Bunty, any final thoughts here?
The Beer Sabres might be the hidden key that I'm finishing this.
You need that little juice to get you over.
That might be the juice that they need to end the drought. So that's really all I got. Let's keep it going. Let's hope that post-Olympic break is just as much fun as before the break. And let's be real, if they can somehow snap this drought, make the postseason, Buffalo will be electric in the spring for the first time in 15 years. And, I was in college the last time the Sabres made the playoffs. I was a sophomore in college. And it's crazy to think it's been this long. But as we saw with the Bills, once they ended it, they made it consistently afterwards.
That winning culture.
So you know what? Hopefully this is just the beginning of something much bigger for the Sabres. And I hope the younger folks that haven't had a chance to enjoy party in the plazas and stuff like that, like you, Gatesy.
Yeah, I was in 5th grade last time they
finally
made it,
get to have some fun at KeyBank Center come playoff time.
Yeah, there's literally nothing I want more. Like, it feels like with each passing day, just the I don't even know. I can't even describe the emotion I feel inside of me of just this team, the energy, the feeling of, this could be it. This could be the team to do it after, all the turmoil in the past, 5 years, especially of, if you would have told me the Sabres would be making the playoffs without Jack Eichel, Sam Reinhart, Linus Ullmark, Robin Lehner, like all these names that we've seen come in and out the door, I would be shocked. So the fact they're doing it with this team here who, has had so many shortcomings in the past as well. Every single guy on this roster basically who's been here, outside of the season has had question marks surrounding them and their tenure in Buffalo. So I love to see how this team's come together this season. I love, watching each game. It's been exciting. There haven't been too many stinkers of, this game's done after the first period and need to turn it off and go to bed. They've been in basically every game. They've been on this run. They've been so fun to watch. They've had that energy. They've had everything that we've been looking for from Sabres fans of, being prideful to be a Sabres fan, being prideful to wear the crest for them. It's been a great time there. So I want to give a thank you to the over 2,000 people stopping in tonight as we get close to this puck drop here in New Jersey. Also, a big shout out to Sports City Pizza Pub for hosting us tonight. Truly a great place. We've been coming here for years. Pizza, wings, phenomenal. Ton of beers on tap. 7,000 TVs, and they're officially a part of the Saberhood Bar Network. The final 25 games will all be on here, volume on. It's going to be a great time. So support local, support the city, support the Sabres on this magical run. Hopefully we can look back in 5-10 years at this 25 game Bunty. And like, this is a team that came together at the right time. They didn't fall apart when, all eyes were on them to, when all expectations were them to, be the same old Sabres, to fall apart. We have that part. So let's go Sabres. Shout out Rocky for hopping in the chat here. And again, thank you to everyone for coming in. We love doing these live shows. Tage and Jack Hughes are getting a little ceremony here. And before we wrap things up, do you guys think the Sabres are going to do the same thing for Tage and Eichel?
They will.
At the KeyBank Center?
Eichel's going to get cheered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to. So
yeah. So that's going to be a memorable moment as well. But again, yeah, thank you to everyone here. It's been a great show. We'll be back Friday with a special Sabres Bandits show. Again, Crossing Swords every Thursday. So, folks, thank you again for tuning in. Enjoy this game tonight. Hopefully we have a good one. And as always, let's go Sabres.